Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host Gamer K, and time for another video, and going back to Assassin's Creed Shadows for this video. May have gotten a bit of mixed reviews from a lot of critics, and I know I gave it a couple issues, but I still love the game. And now, what is a great game without great villains? And when I heard from the sources before the game came out that we were finally getting back the Templars we all know and love, we hit a curveball. This game did not fully focus on the Templars with Naoe's story, but as more of Yasuke's story. And you know what? That gave forth a great cause. It gave a lot of intrigue for this game. Having the Shinbakufu be the main focus of the game primarily for Naoe's story, and yeah, Yasuke's story of after finding a certain one and finding out a name from his past, the Shinbakufu definitely deserve praise for being a unique brand of villain, where it's a group of entities that aren't going towards a particular goal. More so, they work together in line with their own goals that they have going on in the world, and being contracted by the Portuguese Templars to find the regalias. And then this whole story of it, focusing on Naoe's thirst for vengeance and Yasuke's determination to find the people responsible for his own form of suffering. These villains really do well of being a non-traditional Assassin's Creed villain, but at the same time, giving us something a little unique. And I know a lot of people don't like when we just look for one character in an area and then we do the same thing over and over again. That's been Assassin's Creed since the get-go. We find information on our target, we confront them, but okay, yeah, one thing I didn't like is that we couldn't stealth kill. Like, they're all boss fights. Which, again, I don't mind, because this is something very unique, but I'm hoping in the next one we go back to actually silently assassinating our targets. Also very pissed off that we didn't get any awesome White Room scenes, but at the same time, I'm glad we didn't. Anyway, going back to the topic of the video, the Shinbakufu, again, great villains, and I am going to be ranking them. Not how impactful they were in the story, but basically character-wise, their goals, their impact, and this is basically my own ranking. So let's start off very easily with the Oniro Samurai Ito Yoshihiro, who is the guy that knocked out Naoe and gave her the scar that she now sports for the rest of the game. What is with Assassin's Creed and characters having scars on them? I mean, I know Ezio got one in the most badass, in the most stupidest way possible, and it sticks with him for his whole life. But still, the Oniro Samurai Yoshihiro, he's at the bottom of the list because there's not much about him. He follows Naoe, he knocks her out, he takes the box, wears a white mask. He's our first target. We find him. He's the only one we can stealth kill. Yeah, not much about this guy, except for the fact, apparently, our pal Jinjiro, was friends or a relative of him. So I like how he didn't go into traitor mode and lead us along the entire game. But give Yoshihiro this. He gave us a build-up to one of the greatest scenes I've ever said. I'm not kidding. The scene when the Shinbakufu all collide when Naoe's father comes And that music. I'm sorry. It's one of the best moments in Assassin's Creed for me. I mean, it's a small moment, but it does so well to build up the tone of the story. And it brings us to the hunt, and it's pretty good. Continuing on the list, second last place is the wounded Wada Koritake. I love... Hang on. That Nagato, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Now his father got one good freaking clean strike at his ear before the whole incident happened. It was glorious, which gave him the wounded. I know that's not what he's actually called, but that's what Naoe decided to call him because it makes more sense. This guy's story, basically he's a freaking bully and wanting to kill traitors or people he perceived as traitors or a threat to his cause. Not much for him. I kind of wish, if I could criticize one thing, I wish these stories within the Shinbakufu were a little bit more in depth mostly. Like, I would have loved the white scenes being used here to give us more on the character's story and goals. Like, the way they talk about it throughout the game, during their sections, is kind of vague most of the time. I mean, they mention it during the boss fights and everything, or the cutscenes, but at the same time, it just feels like there's just not so much. And this guy could have definitely been used better for his goals, but then again, he was used more to declare Naoe's war against the Shinbakufu. So, again, good start character. Glad he was one of the first to be taken out, because if this guy was waited until near the end of the Shinbakufu, it would have been bad. This one, bit of a mixed bag for me. I mean, introduction was cool. His mask was goofy as fuck. He played an integral part of setting us up to take out Nobunaga. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I pronounce it the way I hear it. Nobunaga? Yeah. And at the end of Act 1, but his overall goal himself feels very lacking, in my opinion. We have the fool, Issei Sadauki. This fucker, I love how he was part of us setting us up along with Mitsuhide to get us to think that Nobunaga was the horseman in charge. I saw through it right off the freaking get-go. We are in Act 1, and you are literally trying to say that's the big twist? But again, getting revenge on this guy was so heartily needed. The mask looking like the Japanese fool, which I do like. I mean, I like how it covers most of his face. And it just kind of gives this eerie thing, like a fool looking very intimidating. His boss fight, not the worst. I mean, again, you choose how you want to tackle each section as Naoe or Yasuke. And I do like going more of the... I mean, it doesn't really make a difference in the end. I mean, it kind of does. I mean, at least you get to, not lose health a lot. But Issei's whole goal is to reclaim his family's good name by poisoning his brother in order to take over. Really? I mean, I know I'm pretending to act shocked about it all, but when you say it out loud, if there was a little bit more more intrigue and a little bit more plot device involved in it, it would be a little bit better. Plus, he's the son-in-law of Akechi Mitsuhide, who I'm gonna get to him in a good while, is a little bit better of a villain. So yeah, Issei Sadaoki, you wore a fool's mask and you ended up dying like a fool. Gee, what's a fucking trope in Assassin's Creed that always goes wrong? And no, not love interest dying. Not being backstabbed by someone we helped before. How about meeting the main villain near the really early on? Unless you're not a complete goddamn moron, the fact that in a one cutscene, like as we continue in chapter 2, we literally meet the Horseman in a cutscene that has no real full purpose outside of understanding sumo a little bit. Also, he's wearing the goddamn same robes! Dude! It's been days, maybe weeks afterwards. And you can't afford fucking different clothing? Seriously, even the voice syncs up. I mean, I was a little surprised because I thought, okay, maybe they're going to go the twin route where he has a twin. Maybe I thought that's where they were going to go with it. Because I'm wondering if twins were... God damn it, we have Akashiga Yoshiaki. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of these names. Japanese is not my fluent language. Unless I hear it, reading it may be a little problem for me. But yeah, the fucking Horseman's near the bottom of the list again. Because there's no real impact. I mean... We found out he was an unseated shogun who wanted to reclaim the throne because people like Nobunaga love power and destroying everything for their own stature and power and everything like that. So he wanted to preserve what it was. And so he made a deal with the Portuguese Templars to get the regalias. But I like that we get to fight him only at the end. Actually, that's a lie. We don't even get to fucking fight him. Once we get rid of the rest of the Shinbakufu, we are sent a message about him to meet us, and he wants to bargain for our lives. Well, bargain for his life by promising the regalia plus information for each Yasuke and Naoe. For Naoe, word of a female ninja who shares a hidden blade just like Naoe. Wondering if it's her mother. Surprised he mentioned nothing of where he saw her, but again, and then gave the regalia to her, and then for Yasuke, information on where Nuno Caro, the Portuguese Templar who was entirely responsible for Yasuke landing in Japan. Okay. 3 big issues I have with this character, with this villain. One, he's revealed very early on, so again, not that amazing. He doesn't have a fucking boss fight, which sucks. Every single other Shinbakufu had a boss fight. Except for the Golden Tempo, depending on which route you go. But it's a... Although, to be fair, I see the boss fights later on with the Templars to be a little bit better and grander scale, so I'm happy for that. It's kind of like with Rodrigo in Brotherhood, how he dies because of Cesare's power consumption, and then Cesare is the final boss of the game, which, again, I do love. And 3, it's not a gripe, it's just, we don't really get an end game with him. Like, he just looks at the horseman mask that he wears after we leave. And I like how Naue and Yasuke kept their word about letting him live after he gives them the information that they wanted. I like that. But overall, as a villain, like I said, the Shinbakufu were just hired, contracted to get the regalia from the Kokushubai Ikki. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. For the Templars, and then they go back to doing what they were going to do with their plans. So this guy's whole scheme to get power back, although I do like that that Mitsuhide did do something for him and get Nobunaga out of the fucking picture with the attempts of getting Naue off their back as well. So good on that. But again, the Horsemen, Yoshiaki, you had presence. You had something great waiting. But in the end, you were just another villain replaced by a better villain. God damn it, if Josh Scorcher to do another overshadowed villains, this would definitely be on the list, I think. Well, I've talked about Akechi for so long. So let's start off with Akechi Kagemitsu the Naginata, a.k.a. the bastard nephew of Mitsuhide. Yeah, despite his small stature, he wields a Naginata, which is actually a pretty badass weapon. And his boss fight is pretty cool. I made the dumb decision to go as Yasuke entering his castle, which kind of was stupid of me. Maybe in a good number of years, if I ever want to replay the game, I'll go the other route. But, yeah. Kagemitsu basically attempts to take down a small man and his daughter to take over the land and raise his family's stature. He's overall just a freaking coward. And even when he dies, he doesn't even know anything about the box. He just agreed to be part of the Shinbakufu and everything because they promised Mitsuhide, his uncle, wealth and power. And when it said they, it's not fully understandable at the time, but I'm pretty sure he means the Templars promised them wealth in exchange for the... So, yeah, this guy was just nepotism in an evil organization. Man, it doesn't really go well in Assassin's Creed when literally nepotism is the only reason you get into the evil organization. He goes the same way as Viri de Pazzi half the time. Also, side note, his dog in the castle can later be found in the Island of Dogs mission with Yasuke and the princess, and the dog can either stay with Yasuke or go with the kids. I find that's a little nice touch, but it's supposed to be like years later or something. Like, there's no real time frame in this. Like, it doesn't show months later or something, so it kind of throws me off a little bit. But yeah, Kagemitsu, great name, great presence in the artwork, but in person, he's basically, like I said, nepotism in a nutshell. Okay. Not where I thought this was going to go. I had bigger expectations for this one. The Mourner. Basically, it's a female mask with black tears going down the one side. I was so hoping that we would get a geisha house episode of section in this game. But sadly, there are none. Which I don't really understand because isn't that part of the ancient Japanese culture, or is that after or later? I don't know. And I was expecting someone who's using the geishas to seek to gain information on a whole bunch of people, and this woman is a bigger part of the story. But no, it's fucking Lady Oichi. Starving the people of the area. It bothers me a lot that my expectations can sometimes not be well received, and sometimes it just goes out the window. But when it was revealed, I was pissed off for a moment. Then we got a moment to be explained. In order to help the country, Oichi was what's the word? Was approached by someone who gave opportunities to help feed the people of this area. And at the time, she didn't really understand what it would be costing her until it was too late, which she was brought into the fold of the Shinbakufu. But she did, however, in her last-ditch effort, she did use this to tell her people to stop stealing and attacking the people. So, yeah. After hearing this, Yasuke chooses to believe her. But with Naoe, you can either trust Yasuke's decision, or you can try to attack her, and that leads into the death of her bodyguard Kuma, who is kind of fun to have for a side mission later on. So yeah, Lady Oichi being the mourner definitely hit a big note, because it kind of feels like they just added this one just to have someone, so they didn't have to come up with something completely something else. But on the plus side, it's short. It doesn't really cause a lot of issues. Doesn't really drive a wedge. So, yeah, overall, great design. Well, not design-wise, but great design in terms of the aspect of this chapter. But, again, even though this, after her, we're getting to some of the better parts of the list. If the bottom three were somewhat okay. The top three, the three afterwards are a little bit good, but not that great. The rest after this are the better parts of the Shinbakufu, and I'm happy. So, yeah. And at least Yasuke got to romance with Lady Oichi afterwards. So, I'm all for it. What I thought was going to be the biggest blunder of the set, I was proven wrong. Beshu Harumasa, the Ox. Basically, that big crimson horn-wielding, kanabo-wielding beast. And I do love this character. I love going to this battlefield-ridden area where he literally turned a young kid into a killing machine to be his second in command, which I do love. And his war against, again, I can't remember every character's names, but his war-driven approach to a certain person in order to reclaim land. And his fight is actually pretty challenging. It's really, really difficult. Really, really fun. In this battle-torn castle, we get to attack and gain the upper hand, which, again, I really love. His death wants a warrior's death, and he actually charges forth like the bull. And after now asking his whole thing, he just says that you come into my castle and attack my men, and you're asking for something nobody in the Shinbakufu knows about the box. Nobody knows. They were just contracted to be there for backup. And after giving him everything he doesn't know, Yasuke finally gives him a warrior's death, which is pretty good. Harumasa is definitely one of the better of the fights, but he's not better in terms of character. So that puts him a little bit over. So, but from now on, again, it's nothing but goodness. What I thought was going to be one of the better ones turns out to be better than I thought. Yukita Nyaue, the noble. This old man gives off, like, I did not see it coming. In a stanza class Nyaue attends, which is basically like, I think poetry. I'm not that big on poetry. I don't know a lot about poetry. But just being next to him and writing a poem was a cool character. And then when the ambush happened and his son was taken, I thought, okay, maybe it was someone else who's trying to attack him and using the noble headpiece that he wore to the meeting of the Shinbakufu definitely has a great essence about him. And then when we find the son in a garden, the father finds him and goes with his guards, and then he basically definitely drops the hint that he's a member of the Shinbakufu. And why kidnap his son? Okay, I had to do a brief search on information because, like I said, it's very vague, a lot of the Shinbakufu's methods, goals, and plans. He wanted to obtain land in order to gain favor with another person, and hoping his son would surpass him and become a greater warrior or a greater shogun. Which I get, but again, it's so vague. Will not lie though, his boss fight in the top of the tower is brilliant because he wants to read the stanza that his son wrote for him. And it was, I mean, again, I'm not one for poetry, or nor do I understand poetry, but reading the words, it was really, really beautiful. And then afterwards, he says that his son may be smarter than him, wanting to find peace through his own way and understanding the world more. And I'm not going to lie, after that, we go right to fighting. And again, it's a great boss fight, really, really fun. And then afterwards, we have the option of letting him die of his wounds or us ending it for him. And honestly, him having regrets about how he went about things and wished that he read his son's stanza earlier so he could further find another way. I just let him die of his wounds. It felt kind of overkill a little bit for me. So, yeah. Nyaue definitely gave a great performance in the end for this chapter. The noble died as a noble should. Okay, this one may be one of the first ones, but it was more fucking intriguing and gave us... Actually, now that I think about it, going back to a previous one, I'm pretty sure I stealth killed the wounded. I didn't even boss fight him. Damn. The first bit of shadows made it felt like it was actually old school Assassin's Creed. And no one knows that more than the Golden Teppo, aka Yayata Wakasa. The depths we had to go through just to find this. The level of depth that we had to do to find one target is fantastic. We had to talk to a local shop, have a yukata made, and go and learn the essence of a tea ceremony. It's one of the few times in this game where I actually had to write down information just so I could remember. And it was really, really intriguing. Not only that, but the fact that we fucking get to see Ketchy in this section before his big reveal showcases that a lot of Shadows is hiding things in plain sight and making us see it. Anyway, during this section, there are 3 females who we need to investigate who could be the Golden Teppo. One of them's the older woman who does the tea ceremony. One of them is arrogant, who says the cat with a gold coin comment. It's the same comment that the Golden Teppo said to us on that night. And the other one, which is Wakasa, who, I'm sorry, but okay, it took a while to figure out who it was, but talking to her and the way she says Sakai, again, I have a good ear, so when I heard the way she said it and the exact same, it matched the same way the Teppo said it on that night, I knew immediately it was her. Now, here's the thing. 2 things. If you fail, then you have to go find her in the castle and do this whole infiltration section. But if you pick the right one, you go to her small place and start investigating more. And you find the Teppo and you turn it on her to get some answers. It's one of the sections that are, it's one of the only times in Shadows that it feels like an OG Assassin's Creed sandbox kill. Like in Assassin's Creed in Syndicate, where you got to, or yes, in Mirage, where we got to do fun secret kills. Now she'll say she'll trade her life for whatever information she has. Now I want information on the box. She doesn't know it, so you know nothing I want. And bang! Oh, it was so cathartic. And the only one where we actually have to do stuff like this. It's the only time we actually get to infiltrate and dress up and do something like this. Which sucks that it's only done once. I was expecting a lot more infiltration. Like, maybe, again, I said Geisha House already, but if Yasuke, okay, wait, Yasuke entering a tournament in order to find, okay, I'm stealing from Assassin's Creed Origins and everything, but it would have been so cool to have some undercover work. I mean, it just makes sense, you know? It just make sense half the time. And it's so weird that the Golden Teppo is this high up when she's one of the first ones. But again, it's the way we track her down. It's the way we find her and kill her that makes her upper on the list. And I do the whys. And this one was another way of figuring out who it is. And I'm not going to lie, it took me a while to figure it out because the wise was fully covered in a cloak and robes, and the mask covered a lot of his face. So we have either the monk in this giant ass freaking building that I love. Again, people can say what they want about Assassin's Creed Origins in terms of the story and everything. But the detail in the buildings and everything around it, you can't deny it isn't aesthetically beautiful. So it's either the monk or 2 leaders of conflicting tribes or conflicting factions that might be going to war. And the funny thing is that a lot of the times, like during this section, there is evidence that shows both sides are kind of conflicting and both sides have issues. It would have been, I can't remember if we did this or not, it would have been fun to elongate this part if Yasuke and Naoe chose to do both sides of the conflict and to investigate and to see more into the leaders' personalities. So for example, like, depending on which one you want to go first, you got to pick. So if Yasuke goes to the one, then Naoe goes to the other, and vice versa. And throughout this one, we are being greeted by a somewhat ghost whenever, which I do love this guy. It's not explained who he is, the long dead son of someone, something like that, but he gives us information and leads us to a lot of clues. And then the section where we have to identify, and then during the peace conference, an ambush is about to happen where they're obviously wearing armor of one of the other factions. So it's clear it's a frame job. So I suspect it was the monk, because it kind of feels like the one guy who's trying to make, I've seen it done so many times, especially in an episode of The Mentalist, where the one guy playing Peacemaker is pitting the sides against each other so he can take over. But we have no real proof until the ghost tells Yasuke to throw his blade at the monk. We do, and he quickly catches it with lightning reflexes. Which, again, I love the way I do it. He doesn't come out and say it's him until we're presented with facts that it is him. And his boss fight is pretty fun. We get a little bit out of the gate. We fight him in the secluded area. He's very skilled, and I do love that. But it's not a quick battle. And then he spouts off on how land was promised to him, a position of power was promised to him, and then the person reneged, so that's why he joined the Shinbakufu in order to claim what was his. And then as he's about to die, he hears wind chimes that he hasn't heard in a long time, representing that he can also somewhat see, he sometimes sees and hears the spirit that has helped us throughout this section. Joken was the one I just remembered. I didn't say his name up until now. But Joken really, really is a great character. Again, I love the full wolf in sheep's clothing kind of aesthetic. And the fact that he is a monk himself definitely lends itself to more moments like this in future Assassin's Creed games, where we need to have stuff like that happen again and not have them be so obvious of who the person is. And this one actually gave me a lot of time. And okay, so yeah, I did have to think about it, and I really loved this entire section. And the fact that he's number 3 definitely lends itself because of the atmosphere of the story, his overall design, and the badass way we reveal he's the wise is definitely a highlight. You know, I love the arts. And when a character is very artistic in a certain way, coupled with that when they have a bigger plan inside of a bigger plan, I do love it. So, from pirates who dabble in slavery, which Yasuke does not really care for obvious reasons, and with the fox mask, and again, I love this mask. I love this mask. It's so intimidating. I honestly thought it was going to be another female because of the stature and everything, but done really well. A Biwa master gives us the tune that talks about a student, and he created his own tune, and he was kicked out of his castle by opposing forces, and he seeks to reclaim what he believes to be his. And it is at this point that we find a guy who Yasuke knows from his past, and that's how we start finding out the Templars in this goddamn game. Later in the game, we find out. But I digress, and we have Takade Motaki, aka the Fox. This guy's fight is so fun. He plays his biwa first for his own tune. His fight with Naoe is perfect. This is one of the only times where it's a forced fight. Well, we have to, and I do love, in order to find him throughout the area, we had to listen for his biwa tune and go to the area. And it's got a beautiful view of the night sky and his castle in the background that he seeks to reclaim. And in doing so, he also tries to kill certain other family members of the people who took his castle away. That's a grudge. Again, I love his design. I love the whole overall chapter of the story. From his thirst for revenge, to his cunning, to involving pirates, to giving us the doorway that we fucking kick in order to get to the Templar section of the game, which is Yasuke only, which I do love it. I do love that he doesn't bring Naue in the fold of it, because it's his own mess to clean up. So, the Fox, near the end of the game section, but it gave us more to go for. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And now, by process of elimination, I've talked about him a good lot. There is no way I could put this guy anywhere but number one. The split mask of light and darkness. The Two-Faced. Which is very synonymous of how he screwed everyone. Getting us to kill Nobunaga, to proceed the Shinbakufu's goals, to pave the way for himself and other forces, to literally having his idiot nephew and his god-awful son-in-law take up Shinbakufu reign in order to help his own power, and also his daughter is a forced Templar member. God damn it, this game does nothing if not make it amazing when it comes to connecting people. He's been throughout the game, and the Two-Faced mask definitely suits him to a T. The guy who was actually the one who finally responsible for killing our father, Akechi Mitsuhide, Nobunaga's general. Dude, his whole development and his schemes, his design, his boss fight. I didn't know who I wanted to fight him as, so I decided to go for both. After I beat him, I decided to reload it, and do it again, but with the opposite. Fighting him with Naue felt cathartic. Getting final revenge for our father, and with Yasuke getting revenge for being the one who set up the attack on Nobunaga's palace, sending Naue there, setting these events into motion, and getting revenge for the Lord who gave him his purpose. Akechi Mitsuhide was one of the toughest fights in the game. I'm not including the DLC, because I'll get to that when I do. But yeah, as a character and as a historical figure, it definitely suits for what Shadows was all about. Hiding in plain sight and having darker schemes going on throughout the background. Akechi Mitsuhide is the best of the Shinbakufu because he's present throughout the majority of the game. He has schemes upon schemes upon schemes. He's better than the actual boss of the whole section. Gave us a great boss fight for final confrontation. And honestly, if he wasn't in this game, if they did some generic BS, I wouldn't have loved it as much. But yeah, he definitely set the bar high for a boss fight and great, not cathartic, but yeah, being a great cathartic entity in this game. Gave us closure for both Naue and Yasuke. And I can only hope Assassin's Creed Hex gives us something even better than that. But please, more stealth sections. Please, in terms of killing the targets. Please. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all my opinions on the Shinbakufu members. Great villains. Didn't really go the way I thought they were going to be in the beginning, but they proved to be great villains. Hell of a lot better than the Cult of Cosmos. And if I even start ranking those ones, I'm going to need fucking alcohol for that. I'm going to need Uzo, and I don't even like Uzo. So that's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Like, comment, subscribe down below, and join me next week, where I end the month of January as E returns, as we tackle another video where we see one of our favorite critics go up against a not so well versatile hunter. This is Gamer K, logging out.